He added some Jace Bellerins. The VanMeters aren't the main anymore, and he's playing a much more tuned version of his blue black and white deck. All right, now we're going to get to watch a match between Chris VanMeter and Matt Sperling. Now, it's kind of a long shot for Chris VanMeter to make top 8, but it's definitely a possibility. So the winner of this match will not necessarily top 8, but you know, if Matt wins, Matt is a lock.
What is Chris playing again?
I believe Chris is playing Valakut today, or is that right?
I think you're right. Yeah. He's playing Valakut. Because
Okay.
we saw his match earlier where he pushed through with it, right? We have the early portions of the game, the looks for mulligans.
Yeah, now Matt's going down the 6 cards. This is a pretty high pressure situation for both these players. And whenever you're playing for top 8, it's always, you know, I always feel like it's, you know, it's almost more stressful than the top 8 matches themselves. I mean, Chris VanMeter, no stranger to high-level play. He won a PTQ pretty recently. He's playing Green-White Trap.
Right.
And so he is qualified for the Pro Tour in Japan that's happening soon. He top 4'd the Star City Games Legacy Open that was in Memphis recently, playing Team America. He top 8'd the Standard Open in Kansas City, playing Genesis Wave. And he top 16 the Legacy Open that was in Texas last week, playing Team America also. So, you know, he's somebody who's been posting a lot of awesome finishes, and all of these finishes are in 2011.
Right.
So this is an up-and-comer that's definitely somebody to watch. Matt Sperling, you know, been around since he was a young child.
Yes.
And
I remember playing him when he was a young child.
he is he's certainly no joke. Unless it's a lawyer joke.
You know, it's funny because Matt Sperling has made fun of himself. He once joked via a little webcomic that he made that if he were to go back in time and tell his young self about how to play Magic better, that he would have been too depressed to discover that as an adult he was still playing Magic. Personally, I think, I don't know, I love the fact that there can be people that have been playing this game for, you know, I mean, I've been playing this game for 17 years, and that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great game, and from the moment I picked it up, I've been a Magic player.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are that way.
I think,
You just can't get away. You always come back. You know what I mean?
I mean, I know a friend of mine got away for a while, but that's because he was living in the woods in, like, British Columbia. You know, so once he got back to the real civilization, he started playing again. And we got Birds of Paradise from Chris VanMeter. Ah, okay, so he is not Valakut.
Oh, he's the Naya player.
He's Naya.
Yes,
that's right.
We've seen him do very well with Cunning Spark Mages. Now, Chris plays Stoneforge Mystic, finds his Sword of Feast and Famine, and passes the turn back to Matt. Now, it's interesting. I wonder if Body and Mind might actually be better against Matt's deck.
I think it is. I think it is, actually.
Yeah, it can neuter the Fauna Shaman package. It can, you know, just create more bears that can come up the ground.
I mean, to be fair, though, it can also feed the Vengevines. So let me take that back.
That's true.
Let me take that back.
Yeah,
with the
definitely.
Vengevines in the case, I will take that back.
Yeah, and the other thing is that also, like, making him discard weakens the Vengevines. So
yeah.
Chris is certainly right, grabbing that sort of Feast and Famine. And Chris's last name, he's from good stock, that boy.
Maybe he's not. Maybe he changed his name to that just because he wanted to be from good stock.
Maybe. I think he's from good stock. I can tell.
Okay. The early stages of this game are usually a little bit of a jumping around for mana and trying to get out exactly those two cards. The
now,
Mystic
Matt kept
and
a very awkward hand here.
Yeah. What does he have? What could he possibly have that he kept this hand?
I don't know. I think he just has like
Baneslayer Gideon?
Yeah, I think. Oh, he mulliganed down to 5, so he's just in a rough way here. Especially with that slime shooting down that land. Now it's basically lights. And again, Matt mulliganed to 5 here, and you know, the Squadron Hawk with the Sword of Feast and Famine is just going to take this game over.
Is that a slime?
Yeah, Chris.
Oh my god.
The Ravine comes in.
This game, unless a Day of Judgment that doesn't exist in his deck shows up,
Yeah,
I'm not
and
sure
I
that
mean, Matt's
Sperling
down
can
to
come back into
6,
this.
and Matt's just going to pack this one in.
Yeah. He does not find a Day of Judgment.
Yeah. I don't think he has those in his 75.
Yeah,
When you're playing 30
I
creatures and
agree.
stuff.
I wasn't suggesting that he did have it.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. Now, let's go and look at these guys' sideboards real quick. Chris VanMeter, he's going to get access to a Manic Vanoplost board. Have some extra acidic slimes. He doesn't really know what Matt's playing. I think when seeing those green and white lands, he can kind of, you know, assume what it is to a certain degree.
Well, they've been floating at the same parts of the table, and plus, if he plays Magic enough, he would probably recognize Matt Sperling's name. So
Yep.
it's possible he might have actually scouted to know a little bit more. But still, regardless.
Yeah, Chris is going to bring in an extra Cunning Spark Mage. Chris is going to bring in some Condemns. He's probably bringing in 2 Gideon Juras.
Yeah, I think he will bring in the Gideons.
As a result, I think Precursor Golem's really powerful here. He takes out at least 2 slimes, I think, if he's bringing in the Vandal. He may want to take out the Green Sun Zenith. It doesn't seem like it has much value here. Gideons and Condemns and the extra Spark Mage seem like the cards he wants to bring in.
I would see Linvala. I mean, if he realizes that his opponent is a green-based deck, Linvala turning off birds, turning off Fauna Shamans.
Mm-hmm. You know, Linvala is definitely a card that's going to come in also. I didn't see that there on the board.
And I can see a Basilisk Collar being a reasonable card to bring in as well.
Yeah, I mean, he has 1 main, so it's... I guess if you're worried about your 1 getting destroyed, it's... I guess if you're bringing in the 4th Spark Mage or the 3rd Spark Mage, maybe the 2nd color is what you want.
Yeah, that'd be my thought. Now, we do not have Matt Sperling's list in front of us. One of the judges came over and said that they needed it, so they'll be bringing that back as soon as they can. But what we do have, I remember that one of the things that Sperling has is he has the 2 Gideons main, and he has a Gideon in the sideboard. Could easily see him bringing in a Gideon from the board.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He also has Linvala, so
Yep.
I would see Linvala being a card that
Linvala is definitely coming.
you know. Okay. Once we get that list back, we'll go into more details in what Matt Sperling might be choosing to sideboard. I actually also think that even if you're dealing with a Cunning Spark Mage Basilisk Collar package, you've got ways to fight that. So I still think you might be bringing in your Baneslayer Angel versus a deck like Naya, because it's just one of those cards that if it is not answered by a kill spell of some kind, it can make it so that an opponent attacking can't do anything.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens here if the game goes long and Chris gets an active Fauna Shaman. I think Sunblast Angel is a card that could be absolutely huge in a matchup
Absolutely.
like this. And I always love watching some Sunblast Angels kill people. So,
Awesome. And we are just being returned the deck list for Matt Sperling. So looking at it, we have Core Sanctifiers as a possible answer to the various different equipment that might show up.
Mortar Pods are probably coming in.
Right, Linvala and Gideon Jura, as we talked about before.
And Amaria Angel also.
Yeah, Amaria Angel, he said, was one of his secret weapons against various opponents that were running Squadron Hawks.
And I mean, Amaria Angel seems really good here. His opponent doesn't have bolts. His opponent's really only on Spark Mage Collar to deal with that, so... Amaria Angel can quickly run away with the game.
Yeah. In terms of some of his weaker cards, it's hard to say what his weaker cards are here, honestly, looking at this. Any thoughts?
In his main deck here?
Yeah.
Now, I think he's... Yeah, I mean, is Vengevine very good?
I think so. I mean, he almost looks pre-boarded. You know what I mean? Like...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how good Vengevine is. That's the one issue. I think you take the sort of Body and Mind out for sure.
against an opposing Vengevine deck. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Bone Horde has got to be good still.
Oh yeah, Bone Horde is certainly good here.
Like, I mean, I guess I could see Vengevine maybe, but I still like it. I mean, Fauna Shaman into Vengevine.
They're starting game 2. Matt Sperling leads off on the play, gets a bird and play on turn 1. It's pretty strong, especially when you're in the play in this match.
Oops, that's not a spell. There we
It's a
go.
bit awkward.
Lotus Cobra.
Not the end of the world, though.
1, 2.
And
It's
Fauna Shaman.
Fauna Shaman. Look at that.
And that's an explosive start.
Bird
and that's
into Lotus Cobra is so nuts.
Yeah, it lets you do really absurd things very quickly.
It's the beginning of the mythicness right there. And on the other side of the table, we have just the Shaman. I think that Chris VanMeter's Shaman, because it can go summon up a Cunning Spark Mage, is more powerful than Matt Sperling's Shaman. However, Matt Sperling can if he gets a land here, I believe that he can cast a Linvala off of the Lotus Cobra, and getting it with a Fauna Shaman. Is that right? If it's a sack land, he can do it. If it's a regular, comes into play. If it's a regular land, then he cannot.
True. But yeah, Chris could have to deal with some scary stuff right now.
There is a sack land,
and that's going to be enough to have Matt drop a Baneslayer into play if he wants to.
Yeah. I mean, the card I would be most scared of here would be Linvala, which once it hits play...
I think I'm most scared of Gideon at this point. That would be about as...
There's a Gideon.
That's... When you've got a Grizzly Bear and 2 lands and your opponent has a Gideon, it's pretty rough.
Fauna Shaman comes in, offering a trade with the other Fauna Shaman. Lotus Cobra also coming in. It's done its job. Okay. So it's going to be a main phase activation of Fauna Shaman, most likely. Now, these two decks have just had incredibly lopsided early turns against each other.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's kind of what happens. Well, game 1, Matt mulliganed to 5. So this game, Chris has a pretty awkward draw.
Vengevine goes to the yard, probably seeking out a Bird of Paradise.
Mm-hmm. Chris Sen has no white mana.
And there's the bird,
which will.
And he can't even cast that bird, it doesn't look like.
Not this turn, no.
Oh. Wow, how painful.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it's very rough. Matt can just snipe the Fauna Shaman if he wants to with the Gideon. He can, he can do... The world is his oyster at this point.
For this game, at least.
Now, is there anything that Chris could do to get back in this game? We're aware of?
Well, I mean, he has his own Gideons if he brought them in. If he chose
Fair
to.
enough.
So what he could do is drop a bird and then cast a Gideon on the next turn. And assuming that there are no creatures in Matt's hand for him to turn off the bird with Linvala, then that might work out.
Now, that's another good point about Linvalas. It doesn't just turn off non-mana abilities. It turns off mana abilities, too. So when people are playing cards like Birds and cards like, Noble Hierarch and things like that, it just becomes an extraordinarily powerful spell. It's very strong against Elves, for example.
Yeah.
Now, Chris is just waiting for game 3. Trying to see as many cards as he can. And I like this. I like that Chris isn't just packing it in. Chris is saying, okay, well, now I know you still have your Baneslayers. I know you have Gideons. I know you... Chris is getting more and more information out of Matt.
Yep. And the question is, right, like, how much can he put onto the table to not give Matt any more useful information?
Yep, and...
I think he says that I can't do anything to get more out of you without giving you more than I want. We're going to go to a game 3, and now Chris VanMeter is going to be the one to go first. And as is the case so often, going first in this can make such a huge difference.
Yeah, it can be really big. A matchup like this is really interesting, though. Like, if one player draws a Lotus Cobra and the other player does not, it can often be very lopsided. Oh, I'm sorry. Chris' deck does not have Lotus Cobra. So,
Oh, wow. So he does not have the ability to get that explosive draw. Instead, he's relying more on basically workhorse effects with Squadron Hawk, Fauna Shaman, Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, and you know, as long as Matt doesn't have a degenerate draw, Chris's deck is much better set up for a long game. Chris's deck can handle just about whatever happens in a long game, which is pretty impressive. Like, that's how his Naya deck is set up. Whereas, you know, Matt's deck wants that explosive draw. It's a very interesting match. It's a match for top 8 of this tournament. It's Chris VanMeter, up-and-comer on the Star City Games circuit.
Right.
He won a PTQ for Pro Tour Nagoya. He, top-8'd he top-8'd 2 Star City Games Open Series so far this year. One was a Legacy Open where he's playing Team America, and the other one was a Standard Open where he's playing Blue-Green Genesis Wave. He also top 16 last weekend playing Legacy, also playing Team America. And Matt Sperling. He's Matt Sperling, you know.
One thing, I got a little word from the floor that apparently there were some intentional draws that might have been ill-advised that make it all the more likely that should Matt Sperling win, and this is still a question mark, that he is yet more likely to make top 8. Now, it is fully possible.
Chris is the one that's having trouble. Matt's a winning in, solid.
Are we sure about that? I know that we were looking at his numbers before, and that they seemed a little bit low at 54, right?
Yeah, 21 points.
Yeah. Dur, dur, dur.
If he wins, he will be
Yes.
ahead of the standings
My bad.
of Kibler.
Chris VanMeter is the one that's going to be the one that can potentially take advantage of that change. Thank you very much.
No worries. Now, Chris wants to have a Cunning Spark Mage in his opening hand.
Oh, yeah.
Preferably with a bird. That'll let him deal with any sort of degeneracy that Matt might be trying to do with a Lotus Cobra.
I think you might be speaking about over there.
Now, one thing that's interesting about this tournament is just how much red there was. The more when I was talking to Adam, he said that you know, throughout the day, everywhere he looked was red decks.
Yeah.
You know, like, it didn't matter whether he was looking at the tables where people were winning or the tables where people were losing. There were red decks everywhere.
And I mean, we can pretty much put this at the feet of Patrick Sullivan.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is every time we watched a red deck, it was a virtual, you know, 60 card carbon copy.
Yeah.
Of
a little bit of shifting here and there for
people
the
have
sideboard,
their sideboards mixed up a little bit.
Not very much. And getting underway, we have turn 1 Matt Sperling with Bird, turn 1 nothing from Chris VanMeter. Chris is on the play, so we'll see if he gets to turn 2 to do anything useful. He's got a lot of turn 2 plays that are good.
Yeah,
that's one of them.
Shaman's really good against Matt. Matt doesn't really have a way to interact with that. Now, Matt might just get blown out here because I believe Chris VanMeter has an Arc Trail in his hand.
Is that the case?
Yeah, and yeah, that's going to be pretty brutal.
Wow. He does summon up Jerry, and Jerry, the call goes and gets maybe Elaine or Kramer, some other Squadron Hawks, whoever's in his gang of 4. He gets the whole
Kramer's
package.
my favorite Squadron Hawk. He's so funny.
He just gets in there.
He's always coming by. You're like, oh, you stop eating my cereal. He'll be there. Now Chris is probably just going to Arc Trail and get rid of both those birds, and then he gets a Fauna Shaman activation, and Chris's deck can abuse Fauna Shaman activations very well.
Yeah, and he's got the mana to be able to do it, so that means kill the birds and be able to get perhaps a Cunning Spark Mage.
Yep. And the Cunning Spark Mage will do a lot of work against basically everything that Matt's deck can muster up. Now, Matt
might
can
not
find
even
the Linvala, but
he might not even need a Cunning Spark Mage. You know, with the way that his hand is, we can't see much of his hand, so we don't really know. But he can figure out what he needs for this, right? He'll have 4 mana next turn if he's got a land in his hand. mean, it might be that he's just going to start piling Vengevines into the yard.
It's true.
And there we go again. Another bird, another bird. Goodbye to Fauna Shaman number 2. I did see a Gideon Jura in Chris VanMeter's hand.
Let's see.
Gets Cunning Spark Mage.
Now that Spark Mage is going to shoot down this bird to begin his fabulous journey. And then he's going to shoot down some more birds. He's going to play some duck hunt.
Comes into play tapped with Copperline Gorge. In comes Cunning Spark Mage, attack with the Fauna Shaman.
And that'll put Matt down to 18.
This does mean that if he has oh, is that Linvala?
That is Linvala.
A natural Linvala.
And that's pretty
good. It's pretty good. Now Chris has to play natural stuff as well. He has, like I said, he has a Gideon in his hand, so he can put that down there, and if there's not a Gideon from Sperling, solve this problem.
It's true.
It's just assuming he has a land for it.
Yeah, I don't think he does here.
Oh boy, Matt untaps so quickly.
Yep.
That's a good moment for him. Looks forward with a just inquisitive gaze there.
It's rough too, because if Chris is Copperline Gorge, you're going to play untapped. The Linvala would not have been an issue. That's how close it was.
Okay, we got the whole team there.
Yeah, he's got the whole top end in his hand without the lands to play them. He's going to get in there. Fauna Shamans. He's passing the turn back, I assume. Well, he may decide it's about time to arc trail away those Squadron Hawks.
Still hanging on to... What's the friend of Gideon's there?
Sun Titan?
Okay. Does he only have a single white source in play,
yeah,
I mean?
so he needs to draw an Iron Mesa or Plains.
Yeah. He needs it now. Last chance. There it is.
Ding.
There it is.
And, I mean, it
might be too late.
Enough, yeah.
Gideon kills Linvala. He's got 2 Fauna Shamans, which probably want to sit back and play D against the Stirring Wildwood.
Yeah.
Matt has 1 card in hand, it looks like. Says go to hold back to the Stirring Wildwood. With 6 mana of his own, Matt Sperling can cast everything in his deck.
Yeah, I mean, he can Vengevine here. He can play Sun Titan of his own, things like that. I mean, the thing is, if Chris rips a land, Chris is in a dominant position.
Yeah.
The swings of this game have been pretty incredible. Quite a game 3 for us.
Absolutely. Activating the Wildwood is a huge investment of Matt's mana.
Yeah, it's really big right now. If
he has anything of value, I mean, his hand is in that dark spot where the where the camera is, so I'm having trouble really making out anything that's there.
Yeah, I believe he has a Vengevine in his hand. That's probably why he's counting this stuff pre-combat.
Here comes Vengevine.
That makes sense.
Land. Now the question, go after an opponent that's almost dead, or go after Gideon? I would go after him, Chris.
Yeah, I think at this point you go for your opponent's face. When your opponent's life total is within,
oh, he goes for Gideon. At least some number of them are going for Gideon.
Now, I really like just jumping a Vengevine here. It seems like about as good as it gets.
And now Gideon gets to demand that he gets attacked.
Yep.
Gideon is such a monster. I mean, Chris's life might be 6, but Gideon makes it feel like it's a lot more than that.
It's true.
Looks like Vengevine goes to the yard, finding...
I believe
get
he
4
was trying
mana.
to find a Squadron Hawk.
Squadron Hawk gets a lot more Hawks. That's really, really
good
devastating
right now,
turn. Oh my god. I'm sure that Gideon will say that he must be attacked. And probably what will have happen is... God, look at that. The way that that board shifted.
Yep. And it still gets a Gideon activation.
Yep. And the Vengevine comes in.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be a Hawk trades with a Hawk, and a Hawk chumps a Vengevine.
Yep. That seems what pretty much has to be here. Now, I mean, Matt could do something like play a Baneslayer Angel,
Right.
something like that. But even then, like Gideon kind of just trumps everything at this point,
Yeah.
especially when he has the Squadron Hawks to block.
Well, another thing he could draw, actually, is he could draw a Bone Horde.
Bone Horde would be decent, but at this point, Chris has an active Fauna Shaman. And
Yeah,
Infinite
he does.
Gas, so
He does.
I think this is the closeout that we discussed with Chris. Is that Chris's deck, if he gets to the late game and gets to start activating a Fauna Shaman, it really doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, I mean...
Libala is your only way to beat his late game.
It looked to me as though that was a land I saw in Matt's hand, but I'm not 100% sure. Land and something? There's a Stirring Wildwood. In they come. That might actually kill... No, he can just chump and...
chumps both,
Yeah, and then takes 2 down on the Gideon. Lotus Cobra on the follow-through for a blocker.
Seems reasonable.
Is that a Sun? Yeah, that is a Sun Titan.
Yep.
And still short on the mana to get it. Gets rid of...
Squadron Hawk.
Yep.
Finds himself
Cunning Spark
Cunning
Mage.
Spark Mage.
And then scoops.
Yeah.
Because that knows the Gideon can come in for the kill.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
So, Matt Sperling eliminated in the last round. That deck seemed very interesting, though, his green-white deck.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it was a bit more finely tuned, I'm sure that he could have top-8'd this event.
Absolutely. And, I mean,